I knew I wanted to be involved somehow. When I was fourth classman and deciding whether or not to apply for rank or not, you know, your normal path is you go down the cadre side or rank side, and then you just kind of follow the regiment system, and maybe you'll break out here or there. But I've been a private all 4 years at VMI. My brother, he was a corporal. He said to me when I asked him, he said he liked being a corporal for about 3 days. His thing to me was, you can get better leadership experience over here doing clubs and different institute programs than you necessarily could as a corporal. So I just decided that I'd much rather go down kind of the private route and get involved in a whole bunch of other different things. And through that, it just kind of blossomed into where I'm at now, where joined a couple clubs and ended up in leadership positions there, and thought CSAB would be a cool opportunity and hopefully do some good for the Institute. And now I have the honor of running that. When things for OGA came out, I put my name in the hat, ended up getting picked by my class officers, and very honored to serve as the OGA president for the class of 21. So it just kind of fell into it. I guess I kept my ears and eyes open for opportunities. My philosophy for leadership actually really started back in Boy Scouts, when we were at that kind of platoon level, so to speak. And then it's kind of grown and evolved through VMI. The leadership really kicks in after the rat line once you stop being told exactly what to do every minute of the day, and you have to think for yourself and make decisions. Maybe what has been most influential on me was actually the leadership class we had. We had this one unit specifically on this thing called identity leadership, and it was the whole idea of being the ideal person for the groups that you run. So like if, let's say I'm running the OGA and I gotta be the representative body for the privates at the Corps, is kind of what the OGA does in some capacity, then I try to be the best private I can be. And beyond that, kind of folding in some ways of esprit de corps, small things to do that we as the OGA do just ourselves, whether it be like making fun logos for the people, putting out stickers to hand out, small things like that. The rhetoric we use to kind of shape how we want the OGA, CSAB, CIG to act as a body. That's kind of the whole, I think, big takeaway from that class specifically, that I think it was stuff that I'd been doing before in some capacity, but had never really thought about. And then after I had that class in Major Jarman told me all about it, and it kind of just started clicking in my head, like, oh yeah, I can see other ways I can kind of weasel this into my leadership style moving forward. Peer-to-peer is a tricky one at VMI because we're all around the same age group. Me being a private, I've got no chevrons up in my collar here, so the authority that I derive isn't backed up by any regimental system type stuff. It's purely, I'm in a position of respect. And if I were to lose that, then my word in barracks would go to nothing. So peer-to-peer leadership, as far as the OGA specifically is concerned, because that's probably where we see it the most, they're actually in there with the troops getting things done, comes from the whole idea of I do my best to be a good person in barracks. The big thing is, specifically for me, Private Nicholson, that I can't force people to do anything. So I've got to be tactful in the way I ask people to do something so I don't come off like a jerk. And I wouldn't ask anybody to do something that I wouldn't do. And I've got to put my money where my mouth is when it comes to that. VMI's honor is different, where you say that VMI cadets have honor, and we do. Like, we won't lie, cheat, or steal. Chaplain Phillips had a great quote, and you'll see it on the class president's email if you ever get those, is there's a difference between having honor and living honorably. VMI has kind of brought out a lot of that in me, where it's the small things like using your phone outside. You're not supposed to do it. It's not an honor offense, but you're not supposed to do it. Or just following the little tiny rules that we have all over barracks that if you didn't do, nobody would know. The sentinel could probably take a nap in the sentinel box and nobody would know, right? But it's those tiny little things throughout your day, that little voice in your head saying, oh, do it the right way. Do it the right way. Do it the right way, that I think has really been brought out a little bit more to me. That one, and work ethic is the other one. Everybody's busy around VMI. You don't have a lot of free time. A lot of your stuff is accounted for you before you even woke up that morning. You've got formations to be at, which take up a good chunk of your time. Practice parades, regular parades, PTT, all sorts of things thrown at you throughout your day. So your schedule really isn't your schedule. It's the Institute schedule, and you've got to learn to deal with it. So being able to knuckle down and get things done when they need to get done is a huge asset. And that's really a trait I think I got more than anything else from my mom. I think it's been amplified at VMI. That's another thing people like to say, is VMI is like a magnifying glass, and your good traits get amplified, and if you got good traits, but the vice versa flip side of that is if you came in here not being the best person, hopefully you'll improve, but it might also just amplify those bad traits if you can find ways to get away with those tiny little things that I mentioned earlier. If you start letting those slip over and over and over again, and you know that you're not going to get caught doing it, it can kind of mess with your head a little bit, and you think it's okay. They've got so much more experience than me in my time, and it's just these small little deals. Sergeant Bean has thought about issues that I never considered, and same with Major Dixon. He's got buckets and buckets of just tiny tools to use to help efficiently run a meeting. That my game plan was more, I'm just going to go out there, throw some spaghetti against the wall and see what sticks and see what kind of letters it makes. But he had all sorts of tips and tricks. So the big takeaway from VMI was use the people above you who actually know what they're doing so that you look like you know what you're doing and you can learn something about it, and then you can teach that to someone later down the line. I think might be the biggest takeaway. Taking care of your people is what leadership should be. Hopefully if you do a good job of that, they'll back you up and actually like to follow you. At least at the end of the day, good leader, bad leader, if you're taking care of your people, hopefully you'll have an impact on somebody in some positive capacity, and then you can go live yourself a happy life.